How's it going, everyone? Yoso back here with another video, and I hope you're having a fantastic week so far. Today, I wanted to talk about something a little bit different. I know in the last video we spoke about warranties, how to make decisions about whether you should or should not buy a warranty, and if you haven't seen that video, check the link in the description below. That's a great place to go and review what we've already spoken about. But today I wanted to talk about something a little bit different. Today's topic is just about making decisions in general. And I actually have some notes in front of me, so don't be hating on the fact that I may be looking over there a little bit, because I wanted to make sure that I hit on every point and that we didn't miss out on anything important. This to me is a big deal. I really struggle with making decisions. I know I talked about it in the last video, but I feel like there are tons of people out there that really suffer from this. And hopefully the information that I'll share with you today, just in terms of my perspective, things that I've learned and gathered over the years, hopefully this can help you out in your decision making in the future. So here we go. All right. So what I wanted to do is really talk about how do you make decisions about anything. This could be a car, this could be a house, it could be a piece of electronics, it could be something that you're passionate about, anything. So first of all, when you're making a decision, whatever it is that you want to get, you need to make sure that it's really something that you want and that's going to make an impactful difference on your life. What I mean by that is we're always bombarded by so much information around us. There are people that are trying to sell us anything and everything under the sun. We're getting spammed, emails, everything we watch on TV, on social media, things are constantly being thrown at us. And the question is it something that we really need? Is it something that we really want? Or is it something that if we buy, maybe after a day or two, we'll probably forget about? Or maybe it's something that we just don't really need that much, and it's something that would be cool to have, but in a week or a month from now, it doesn't really bring us much value, and it could be a bit of a waste of money. So that's the first thing that we need to determine. Is this something that we actually really care about or want or need? Or is it something that just in the moment kind of seems like a really cool thing and something fun to buy, or that a lot of people are buying and maybe you want to get on the next big trend? So that's number one. The best way to determine if this is something that you really want or care about is to not make an impulsive decision. There are so many people I know that will go out there, just walk around the mall and say, hey, look, there's a great deal on this, and I'm just going to go and buy it. That's probably not the best way to determine if it's really important to you or something that you really care about. Sleep on it. Go have a good night's rest. Think about it in the morning. If you're still thinking about it and it's something that really bothers you that you didn't buy, maybe it's a sign that it's something that you really should be getting. And if you don't really think about it twice and you say, you know what, I can live without this, it's not that important to me, chances are you did the right thing by not buying it in the moment. So take a moment just to think about it. Don't go out and just buy things without really thinking through, because it's very easy to spend money and then have that buyer's remorse afterwards and say, you know what, I didn't really need it. I know it's easy to return things nowadays, but it'll save you the hassle. And it's not worth the headache if it's not something that's really important. And if it's a car, for example, or a house, it'll be a little bit more difficult to return or exchange if you decide in the end it's not something that you really want. So that's number one. The next most important thing that you need to think about when you're buying something or making a decision is, how much am I going to spend? Budget. I know a lot of people talk about budget, but it is so important. I can't tell you enough how many times people go out there and have an idea of something that they want to buy, and they spend a ridiculous amount of money on it because they have no cap on their budget. You need to think about how much are you willing to spend and how much is it going to cost you overall, and is it really the right amount that you're willing to put out for whatever it is that you're trying to buy. And I covered this actually in one of my earlier videos, and I'm going to put this in the link in the description below, just so that you can have a reference as to how you figure out total cost of ownership with buying cars and figuring out how much they're going to cost you over time. So the second most important thing, budget. Think about how much you're willing to spend. How much is it going to cost you? Is there maintenance that's involved? Is there some sort of subscription that's involved? All those little details you need to factor into your budget as to whether or not it's something that you can afford or something that you actually want to get into. The third thing that I wanted to cover today in terms of making decisions is come up with a list of criteria, things that are important to you. This is so important because especially when you're buying a car, I see so many people go out there and they say, oh, I'm going to look at this car and then I'm going to look at that car and then something else. And they're totally different types of cars. and they could cost different amounts, but that's not even the most important part. They could have different features, they could have different fuel economy things, they could have different purposes altogether. And so before you drive yourself crazy about what it is that you want to buy, figure out the criteria that are most important to you. Make a list and force rank them. Figure out what's the most important for me, which is the one that make it or break it. I can't buy this if not for that. And those are the things that are going to really help you narrow down the right options. If you're buying a laptop, for example, there are millions of different types of laptops out there. How do you know which is the right one to buy? Well, if you think about the budget, the price, and if it's something that's really going to make a difference for you, and then you go about thinking about what's really important. Is it storage? Is it size? Is it weight of the laptop? Is it the screen? Is it the keyboard? What do you really care about? Those are the things that are going to help really narrow down the scope of what you're looking to get. And it's the same thing with cars. There's so many different types of cars out there. Are you looking for a family hauler? Are you looking for something that's just a fun weekend toy that you're going to drive around and enjoy? Do you really care about fuel economy? Is price the most important thing? Think about those types of criteria, narrow them down, and try to figure out which are the most important. And the same thing goes with the options and the features that come with the car. Do you care about a sunroof? Do you need an automatic transmission? Do you care that it's a CVT versus a normal automatic transmission? Do you care that it is all-wheel drive or two-wheel drive? Do you care about the infotainment system? All those things are really important. Think about what you really care about most and what's a deal breaker for you. That's going to really help make sure that you're making the right decision. On that topic though, there is one other thing that I think is really important to know, and that is if there are things that are really, really important to you, don't go cheap on them. What I mean by that is there are some features or some capabilities or some criteria about whatever it is that you want to buy that if you go cheap on and you don't get, you are going to be really annoyed about that later on. It's something called buyer's remorse. And I know I mentioned a little bit before, but when you buy something and it's not exactly what you wanted, sometimes you look around and say, well, I really wish I had that. And that can sometimes be even more expensive than saving those dollars at the get-go. And what I mean by that is if you're really frustrated that you didn't get the thing that you really wanted, or with the features that were most important to you is probably the better way of saying it, you may want to go out later on and actually buy the thing that you really wanted and return the other one. And that may cost you money. So think about what's really important to you, what's a deal breaker for you. And those are things that you got to die on a hill for in terms of getting. And if you can't buy it because it's too expensive and you know that it's really important, wait. Don't go and stretch yourself just because you want to get it now. Hold off and see if it's really something that you need or care about. And guess what? If you can save up a little bit more money and buy it, you'll enjoy it and you'll appreciate it a lot more, and it won't cause you any stress because you've overstretched yourself. I wanted to give you an example of this. So for those of you that know, I bought myself that 2023 Volkswagen Golf R. And guess what? When my wife and I got married, I first had a manual transmission car. And when we had kids, I sold that manual transmission car because we couldn't afford two cars. And forever, since that time, I've always wanted another manual transmission car. But we couldn't afford it. It wasn't in the cards. And so I waited 8 years to finally go to a dealership with my wife and say, you know what, now is the time to go and buy that car that we really wanted. And I put that deposit down and I was so excited. And it was something that I literally could not wait to get. But with the supply chain shortages and everything that went on during COVID, I had to wait 2 years for that car until I finally took delivery of it, almost 2 years to the date from when I put that deposit down. What was so special about that was throughout those 2 years, I got emails from the dealer and calls from the dealer saying, hey, do you want this car? Do you want that car? Do you want this one but without the sunroof? Do you want it with an automatic transmission instead of a manual? They came with all these crazy ideas of things that could replace the one that I was looking for just so that I could get it sooner. And I was looking online. Maybe there was another car that I really wanted that could be just as good. And that way I wouldn't have to wait. I could get it tomorrow. After all, I slept on it every time those calls came in or those thoughts came into my mind. And I knew at the end of the day, I wanted what I wanted. I placed that order because all of those features that I got in the car were really important to me. And those are things that I didn't want to give up on. And I knew if I did give up on them, I'd be frustrated later on. I drive next to somebody who has those options and I'd say, oh, I really wish I had them. And that was frustrating for me. So I was patient and I waited 2 years to get the car that I wanted. And that's something that I think is really, really important. think about those things that are deal breakers for you. And if you can break those deals, if there are things that are not that important to you after a while, and you can get it earlier, or you can make a different decision, that's okay, and that's great, do it. But for things that you really, really can't budge on, don't be baited and take the thing that's either a little bit cheaper or coming sooner just because you can get it right now. And that's something that I'm really appreciative of now that I have the car that I really wanted. Okay, so here's the final piece of advice that I'm going to give you today, and that is do your research. I know that that seems very self-explanatory, but I can't tell you how many times people go out there and buy stuff and they have no idea what they're actually buying. They see it in a marketing piece of collateral, somebody tells them about it, who knows? But they go out and they buy things, and guess what? Later on, they come back home and they realize, you know what, that wasn't exactly what I wanted, or it didn't meet the expectations that everybody was glowing and telling me about. And, you know, for me, it wasn't really exactly what I had thought. So go out there and do your research. There are people that literally have lost thousands of dollars on their cars because they didn't go and see that there was a rebate somewhere and the dealer never told them. I know people that have traded in their cars and just took any value and probably lost thousands of dollars on them because they couldn't go out there and spend 5 minutes on AutoTrader or one of those car search websites just to see what their car is worth. These are things that are so trivial. You know, they're easy to do. It doesn't take a lot of effort, and it doesn't take an expert or somebody who's, you know, been in the field for a million years to be able to do that. Anything that you buy that has some value to you, go and do some research. Whether it's technology, whether it's a car, it's a house, just do your homework so that you are an informed buyer, and it's something that you can go and rest assured after you buy it that you've done your due diligence, that you've figured out what you need, what's really important to you, and how much everything costs so that nobody can take you for a ride. That is so, so important. I know people that have gone out and bought cars that have never test driven them. They get home, they drive the car after a week and they say, you know what, the seat's not comfortable for me. I don't like the driving position, or the visibility is really poor, or I don't like the way the infotainment system works. These are real problems that people have. And I kid you not, my wife and I really loved the Volvo XC90 and we were considering it. But guess what? When my wife and I drove it, she got car sick when she was driving it. And if we would have bought that car without driving it and she hadn't realized that it would make her car sick or nauseous every time she drove it, that would have been a big problem. You can't just go back to the dealer and say, hey, here are the keys. We don't want it anymore. So do your research, especially with cars. Go and test drive them. And if you can't find one that you can test drive at a dealer, rent one for a day, rent one for a week. See if it fits your lifestyle. Because if you're going to spend 40, 50, 60, 80, $100,000 on a car or more, you better want to make sure that that's going to be something that you really want and you're not going to regret. And to spend a couple $100 to rent one for a day or two, it's worth it in my mind. So that's my last piece of advice. I hope that you all enjoyed this video today. It's something that's really personal to me, and it's something that's taken me years and years to sort of figure out. I know some of this stuff sounds pretty easy and self-explanatory, but when you really take it to heart and you think about it with every purchase that you make in life, these are things that are going to really help you with your decision making, and it's going to make a world of difference. You won't regret things, and you'll probably be a lot more satisfied with what you do get. So I hope this was helpful. Again, if this is helpful for other people that you know in your life, please share it, because you never know what kind of a difference this will make in their life. And this little bit of information, you know, could change a lot of what they're about to do. So go ahead and share it. Thank you again so much for watching, everyone. I appreciate your time, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. I'll catch you again in the next video.